Real estate experiment log week 10. We just moved, took our talents to Atlanta. We'll be doing some of our investing. Beautiful day. We are back. We actually got some family in town evacuating from the Florida shenanigans. So that is no joke. We're always thankful of what's the most important, making sure family's okay. But we are here, going back to the airport, returning this bad boy. I just drove from New Jersey to, from Boston to New Jersey to Charlotte, from Charlotte to Atlanta. This is an experiment and it's a journey, so I'm capturing some thoughts. So thought number one, yesterday, I had to close out a few items from my last place, and I was working with this gentleman that I'm actually selling, that I was selling furniture with on Craigslist, and there was a conflict with pickup and me not being there. I had to make a few calls, several calls with, the previous homeowner, the new tenant there and everything. And it was, the conversation said something very key that I want to take away. He said, "Ruben, is there any way we can make this work?" Literally. And that question in its own triggered a problem-solving state of mind, right? I think sometimes we get caught up in just hey man, we're gonna do it this one way, and then when this one way doesn't work, we get stuck. And I'm actually reading a book called Design Your Life, and it talks about that stuff, right? How about switching your the framework of problem solving, looking at problems from a different angle. And I just thought that was it's so simple, but like literally the fact when he asked me that over and over again, it looked like one way wasn't gonna work. I tried to coordinate with my neighbor wasn't available. Then it was like, maybe you can do it tomorrow it didn't work. So I gotta find, the reason why I'm shooting this video is because when working with sellers or investors or whatever the case might be, you gotta ask yourself the question, how else can I make this work? Because it's business. I mean, you face that. You face issues. You face, problems. I mean, you got to ask yourself the question, how can I make this work? And the question that I want to steal from this gentleman, which is interesting because I was the one providing the furniture and I was the one that was going to receive the payment. And he asked me the question, and it's mutual. How can we make this work? Very simple question. What other solution? Is there any, I think the question was rather, is there any way we can make this work? Is there any other way we can make this work? And that simple question on its own was really got me thinking. And we came up with a solution. We made it work, made a few different calls, came up with a different solution. And I think that the key takeaway is don't fall in love with the initial solution that you had in mind. There's always plenty of them. And when you marry that idea, you get stuck. So don't marry the idea, marry the experiment. Real estate experiment log number 2 of the day. What is it? Week 10, September 7th. It's been about, it's the week 10th, right? So that tells you. Been doing a lot of education up front in the beginning. But now we are here in the land of the investments, right? This is where we're going to be investing in. We're in Atlanta right now. We're driving on the freeway. What is it? What are we on, the I-85? I think so. Yes, 85 South. And really, the second thought that I had was, I'm anxious right now. I really want to, I'm well aware of, I'm an action taker. But I got to balance with, and I got to make sure I'm taking the right exit here. I want to make sure that I'm continuing to learn, and at the same time, I just want to hit the ground running. So don't want to get into the analysis paralysis phase, but at the same time, I know that there's some things that I need to learn. So we're going to do a little bit of both. Now that we're here on site, we're actually going to take action and continue to learn because it's an iterative process. So I'm anxious, but I think it's always important to remember that, again, you're doing it for it's a journey. So it's like, be impatient to start, as I had said in previous video one time. Be impatient to start, but be patient throughout the process. And most people usually do the opposite. They're patient to start, and then they're impatient throughout the process, which is the opposite. So we're anxious. I want to get started, and I'm excited. We're going to be taking a lot of action, making a lot of calls, seeing a lot of people in person. I got to line up a few appointments this week. But man, I want to do this thing already, and let's do it. And I think there's a good way to structure yourself so that you're not experimenting and learning through your mistakes, but you're actually setting up an experiment that's calculated, where there's calculated risk, and that you're actually able to set yourself up to experiment, but not learn from your experiences. So that's also pretty important. I learned that from Grant Cardone. 10x, baby, I want it all. Let's get it. It's the Chasers, guys. Let's build.